Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Laurel Hess and this is Comcast Newsmakers coming to you from the Detroit Regional Chamber Mackinac Policy Conference taped at the Grand Hotel. Our topic today is Michigan's economy. Joining us now to talk about it is Doug Rothwell, the President and CEO of Business Leaders for Michigan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Laurel.
What exactly is Business Leaders for Michigan?
Well, we call ourselves the state's business roundtable because we're made up of about 80 of the CEOs or top executives from the largest companies in Michigan, and together those 80 companies make up about 25% of the state's economy. We're all about trying to make Michigan a better place to do business and also growing the state's economy.
So we've seen a new governor come in and do some things to help the business climate for Michigan, the tax structure, some regulatory changes. Have you guys been sort of happy with that progress?
We've been very happy with it. You know, back about 3 years ago, we came out with what was called the Michigan Turnaround Plan, and we did that because we thought there was really the lack of an overall strategy to move Michigan forward. And we're very grateful that in the last couple of years we have a governor and a legislature that, while they didn't do everything that we proposed, have done much of what it was trying to do, which is improve the economy, improve the business climate of the state. And I think we see the results of that, Laurel, that we're one of the fastest states recovering from that deep economic recession we were in for the last decade.
So you mentioned a turnaround plan that you did come up with and are seeing some of that implemented, but what were the key pieces of that turnaround plan and where do we need to continue?
Well, you know, the basics really were, first of all, starting to manage our finances responsibly. And, you know, we see in Detroit what's happening today when you get your fiscal affairs out of order. The state had the same problem a few years ago, but as a result of starting to put together multi-year budgets, better revenue forecasts, and then second, really reforming the state budget itself, making some of those structural budget cuts and reforms that were being put off for years. And then finally, you mentioned the tax changes. All three of those things together really started to create a new business climate in Michigan and gave the business community a sense of optimism that the serious issues that have been put off for years actually were going to start to be addressed.
Well, what do we need to see now then in the next 2, 4, 6 years to continue the progress?
Well, that work is still not done. There's still more fixing the basics that need to happen, but we also think we've gotten to a point where there are some strategic investments we need to make, specifically in higher education, an area that's been cut by $1 billion over the last 10 years. We think we need to start reinvesting in our universities. And the second is that infrastructure. Our roads need more improvement. We need to build the bridge across the Detroit River and so forth. So that's the next area. And then last would be is that we think there are some distinctive assets Michigan has that if we do a better job focusing on those, we can accelerate the economy even more.
So what do you see? I know you don't have a crystal ball, but as Michigan's sort of long-term economic outlook?
Well, I think it's very bright. I mean, we're very bullish on the future of the Michigan economy. We think we can be a top 10 state again. We think we can be that certainly by the end of this decade, if we have greater focus. And what I mean by that is we have been a state in the past that has been very hard to rally around just a few priorities. And we didn't have to, Laurel, because we were a very wealthy state and we can afford to do a lot of things across the board. We don't have the luxury of being able to do that anymore. And I think with this governor and legislature, we have a great opportunity to take advantage of the progress we've made this last year and really ratchet it up a step further.
So who are, back to the businesses in Michigan who are providing 25% of sort of the revenue, the jobs, has that shifted and changed from more of a manufacturing base to something else in the last 5, 10 years?
Manufacturing is still, you know, the bread and butter of Michigan. And if you look at what's happened the last few years here, it's been the automotive industry in particular that has really driven a lot of this recovery that we're in. But we're seeing more diversification. I mean, a lot of work is going on around the state to nurture entrepreneurs, the growth of entrepreneurs. We're seeing the areas like life sciences, information technology, businesses prop up all over the state. Now, it will take time for them to firmly take root. But we are definitely seeing diversification in Michigan.
All right, well, that's great news. I'm glad to hear you are bullish and optimistic. And as we see policies and tax structures change, hopefully all of us can get on board. We'll see more businesses invest and come to Michigan. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks.
Today's Comcast Newsmaker was Doug Rothwell, the President and CEO of Business Leaders for Michigan.